The Mandalorians are known for one thing, well, maybe aside from their helmets, and that is war. Weapons are part of their religion, and they've been in probably more conflicts than any other faction in Star Wars. As such, they often had to take the fight to the cockpit, flying a variety of starships in the name of Mandalore. From ancient warships to sleek vessels that rule the skies, this is every single Mandalorian starfighter explained. The kom'rk class fighter transport, often referred to as the Gauntlet Starfighter, is probably the most well-known Mandalorian vessel. The kom'rk was designed by rogue members of the Mandal Motors Corporation for use by the violent Mandalorian splinter faction known as the Death Watch. This group's leader, Pre Vizsla, even flew his own modified kom'rk called the Gauntlet. The kom'rk class's wings alternated between an upright landing position when grounded and a horizontal configuration when flying. The vessel was equipped with twin, forward-facing laser cannons located at its nose. Two rear engines were designed to allow for rapid engine startup and a high top speed. The Gauntlet also possessed a troop bay in its main section. A hatch on the ventral surface of the ship could open and allowed up to 24 Mandalorians to be deployed into battle quickly via their jetpacks. The Death Watch, and later Bo-Katan and Din Djarin's forces, made great use of this feature, deploying their soldiers while the ship was still airborne, allowing for extremely fast raids on targets. The kom'rk also had little trouble living up to the second aspect of its name, fighter. Crewed by up to 4 beings, the kom'rk's small size, its twin laser cannon armament, and its significant maneuverability made the starship an effective assault craft in dogfights. SaberCouncil.com's massive holiday sale is here. Right now, you can save 20% off on all lightsabers, for a limited time only. No code needed at checkout, it automatically applies. Saber Council already sets out to offer the most affordable lightsabers on the market, bar none. Even without the sale, their RGB Padawan sabers start at just $66. The discount brings that to $53. Why not grab 2 and make a double-bladed lightsaber, since they offer free shipping on orders over $100. Saber Council has some of the coolest custom saber designs out there, and if replicas are more your thing, they have a huge selection of all of your favorite characters. So, happy holidays from us at Red 5 and our friends at Saber Council. The Fang-class Protectorate fighter was a starfighter primarily flown by the Mandalorian Protectors and manufactured by Soro Sub Corporation and Mandal Motors. Fang fighters were fast and highly maneuverable, designed specifically with combat in mind. Essentially, the Fang was the spiritual younger sibling of the kom'rk. The Fang fighter's narrow attack profile and swivel-mounted wings that provided vectored thrust control gave the fighter unmatched agility, possessing a frame that was considered elegant yet aggressive in design. The Fang fighter had a thin, angular silhouette and a cranked delta platform that gave the vessel an unmistakable profile. The Fang fighter's fuselage took the form of a small, elongated hexagon with a low-profile canopy that covered the vessel's midship-mounted cockpit. The starfighter's aft section was dominated by a single large, high-output ion engine. 2 articulated S-foil wings were mounted to the fighter's fuselage, each capable of rotating and able to be raised or lowered. The Fang fighter featured a sophisticated vectored thrust system, advanced flight controls, and automated thrusters. Fang fighters could fit a single pilot, with no room for passengers or prisoners. They possessed an array of close-range sensors, a hyperdrive, and an onboard navigation computer. The Fang fighter's S-foil wings housed the majority of the starfighter's weapon systems, which consisted of a pair of forward-mounted laser cannons. Just forward of the cockpit, mounted on the fighter's underside, was a retractable torpedo launcher that carried a single proton torpedo, offering the vessel a degree of tactical flexibility. The hidden launcher allowed a pilot to launch a devastating salvo before their target even realized the vessel was carrying such an ordnance. The Fang fighter was ridiculously fast and maneuverable, essentially the Mandalorian equivalent to the Imperial TIE Interceptor or Rebel A-Wing starfighter. The Fang fighter was well suited to executing deadly head-on charges such as the Concordia face-off maneuver. During the Galactic Civil War, the Fang fighter was flown exclusively by Fen Rao's Mandalorian protectors. Several eventually hit the black market and fell into the possession of factions like the Black Sun. After the Great Purge of Mandalore on the Night of the Thousand Tears, the Fang fighter became a standard starfighter asset of the Rebel Alliance. Several also joined Bo-Katan's fleet to retake Mandalore, and a couple were even spotted during the Battle of Exegol. The M3A Skik light fighter was the lightest of all starfighter designs produced by Mandal Motors. It was named after the Skik lizard of Tatooine, a brutal beast and prized trophy among hunters. Although the Skik barely provided more amenities to its pilot than an Imperial TIE fighter, it had two strong points. It was cheap, and its weapon mount was designed to handle nearly anything. Its standard equipment consisted of a weapon, an engine, a reactor, a capacitor, and a weak shield generator. The Skik's laser cannon could be easily swapped for an ion cannon, concussion missiles, or a proton torpedo launcher. Large organizations used this versatility to create wings of starfighters with complementary weapon mixes, while individual pilots benefited by replacing or upgrading damaged weapons anywhere in the galaxy. Apart from that, it had very little room for modifications and additional equipment. The Skik was first introduced in the MMORPG Star Wars Galaxies: An Empire Divided. It also had a successor called the GM-14C Dune Lizard, which added a heavier payload and shields. Though it was manufactured by Mandalorians, the Starfighter-class attack platform was incredibly expensive and was more often used by wealthy criminal organizations. The fighter had a unique design, with 4 wings extending from a central cockpit that could be retracted for various combat needs. When in maneuvering mode, the wings were folded back horizontally, allowing for greater speed and maneuverability for dogfighting. This mode locked the swiveling twin-heavy laser cannons in forward position. When not required for close quarters combat, the wings opened out, which allowed the laser cannons to rotate forward and aft. The Starviper's hull was relatively strong, but it had somewhat weak armor for a heavy starfighter. It compensated for it with speed, agility, and dual forward-mounted proton torpedo launchers that could fire on enemy ships before they were in range to return fire. The davaab-type starfighter was used by Mandalorian Neo-Crusaders before and during the Mandalorian Wars. Its name derived from the Mandola word for carrying out and execution. The fighter was used primarily for capital ship protection. The Davaab starfighter was wide, boasting asymmetrical wings, a longer bent fin-shaped wing, and a shorter wing with a cannon. A bubble canopy allowed the pilot to see his immediate surroundings in nearly every direction. The cabur-class starfighter was a wedge-shaped twin-engine ship, introduced all the way back in 1985 in Marvel's 100th Star Wars comic. It was flown by 2 pilots, and its name was said to translate to Protector or Guardian. We can't do this video and not mention Din Djarin's 2 starships, the Razor Crest and N1 Starfighter. The Razor Crest was an ST-70 assault ship that originally served as a military patrol craft before falling into the hands of the Mandalorian bounty hunter, who lived and worked from it. The ship was constructed before the Galactic Empire was established and was armed with powerful laser cannons that Din Djarin had upgraded. It could be piloted by 1 individual with room in the cockpit for 2 more. The ship was powered by 2 powerful engines and a hyperdrive. The Mandalorian also added a variety of equipment in the cargo hold, including a vac tube, weapons locker, and carbon freezing chamber. The ship even had a ground security protocol that could autonomously protect it, but that wasn't enough to save it from being destroyed on Tython. Following the Razor Crest's destruction, Din Djarin and the Tatooine mechanic Peli Motto worked together to build its replacement, a modified N1 starfighter. Originally, this ship belonged to the Royal Naboo Security Forces. It was a sleek, single-pilot craft that demonstrated the marriage of art and function present in Naboo technology. However, Din Djarin's was very heavily modified. The starfighter had both laser cannons replaced with larger models and retained the underslug torpedo launcher beneath its nose. Only the skeleton of the ship remained, with many unnecessary panels removed. All of the yellow paint was also replaced, mimicking the Razor Crest that came before it. Most notably, Pelimoto added an induction intake charger, which would allow the ship to travel at blinding speeds. It was so fast that New Republic pilots believed it had jumped to light speed during the ship's first test flight. The bes'uliik was designed to be versatile, capable of being everything from a planetary attack bomber to a long-range hunter-killer. It was even modified to add a protective layer of Beskar armor. This ship saw use by Mandalorians after the Yuuzhan Vong War. Jaster's Legacy was the first starship of the legendary bounty hunter Jango Fett. It was named after Fett's mentor, Jaster Muriel, the vessel's original owner. Technically known as an amphibious interstellar assault transport infantry, it was propelled by a pair of oversized sublight engines and had a number of weapon systems. The ship could even land on water. Jango eventually replaced this ship with the iconic Firespray 31 class patrol and attack craft named Slave 1. We covered this ship in depth in a recent video on bounty hunter starships, which you can click the link to on screen now. Also let us know in the comments which ships we should cover next time.